Hello again, my YouTubers. I am Goat, and welcome back to Warframe. Hi. So, welcome to this week's letdown. I don't mean to be too blunt about this, but I can plausibly say that I think the Soma was probably one of the most highly sought after incarnate adapters. As soon as anybody who looked at Wiki saw the Incarnon list, yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure we were all like, I know that there's some that are very melee focused, there are some that are secondary focused, and there is, from what I'm being told from a couple of other streamers that I know, the Vasto is pretty solid. It's not as good as like the Atomos or the Lex or anything like that, but it is definitely a murderer, so that's going to be what I was planning on going after in the next round anyway. I was curious about the Vasto and possibly the Nami Solo, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But so the Soma, right? So the Soma in general was nerfed to shit. Okay, it was like the crit monster, single target primary of death and slash. And just, I mean, over time, as DE typically does, with overuse and general other weapons coming out, between a few nerfs and then getting a singular augment mod, other weapons just showed up, and this thing just became the thing of time forgot. And with that being said, it became a real problem for the Soma because the Soma just could not keep up. It was doing very low base damage, you know, and even with its critical functions, unless you ended up landing a Riven that gave you some hella good crit function, it just underperformed for, you know, for all intents and purposes for what we can build for other things. Now, does that mean that the Soma was unusable? Absolutely not. No. The Soma was on one of my loadouts anyway, so, like, I mean, it was on a loadout I don't use, but it was on a loadout that could functionally be used on the Steel Path. It's just like I hadn't used it in a while until I got a Riven for it. And then, funny enough, the way I only had to put 12 rolls into this Riven, and I didn't know how much it was going to apply, but it was critical chance and multi-shot. And guess what the Incarnon turns into? A nerfed out fucking 8-pellet shotgun, basically. So multi-shot really does come into play here. So we're going to look at this. So the evolutions are obviously the Incarnon. Personally, I chose, because I'm doing a 100 munitions build on a bleed kill plus 100 overshield. So the potential is there. Is it going to prioritize it? Probably not, because there's only a 30% chance for 100 munitions to hit. And although this thing you would think is going to hit like a motherfucker with slash, this works on the primary side of the gun anyway, and slash does hit, so this is a plausibility, okay? This is what I felt was probably going to be the better option. Option number 2, I'm telling you right now, unless you want to basically feel like you're about to have a gun punch you in the fucking face while you're using this thing in its Incarnon form, you're going to need this and steady hands, because the recoil of this gun is so ridiculously stupid. Normally, the recoil is really bad when you're sighting in. This thing, the recoil is so bad, it feels like it's going to knock your fucking Warframe down when you're hip firing the damn thing. So, when you're doing that spray and pray life, it's rough going out there, okay? So, this actually works on, obviously, both sides of the gun, but the Incarnon form is what you're worried about, because personally, I never found the recoil was much of a problem with the primary side of this weapon. And then the third one, increasing the status chance. Now, this may sound bonkers, and there are options, okay, and we're gonna go to Cavallero right now. I'm gonna take myself off public. Why the hell I was on public, actually? Oh, I do know why. I was doing a thing. So we're gonna go visit Cavallero. I don't usually do this on these Incarnon ones. I know I could have gone to Chrysalis 69. It's been busy as shit, man. Every like Monday and Tuesday. It's fucking crazy. So by the way, I'm shooting this on the 22nd of May, so still pre-vacation. Wasn't intending on shooting this, but I just figured go ahead and get this out of the way, because like this thing works, all right, but is it amazing? Oh, Cavallero.
These new Grenier may not be bright. Okay.
Grumpy ass, shut up.
Bring it to life.
Hi. Okay, so the Soma. So your options are, okay, so you can get this, or you can go for increased damage plus 12 with over armor. You can get some more punch through. But this is on the primary side of the gun. This is upfront damage. Like, you can do either one. I don't really think you're going to get hurt either way. But if you're running more low armor, more shield gate based frames, this really isn't going to do you a whole lot of good, to where this one is just like, it's a more plausible thing of hitting. The second one, you can get increased accuracy. It turns into a very, very tight cluster shotgun. It's whatever. You know, or you can get increased reload speed. Now, the reload speed on the Soma is garbage, and it's okay, but plus reload speed does actually affect the Incarnon transition. So when you're changing it from the primary fire to the Incarnon fire, this can help speed that up. But personally, I'm just going to highly recommend that you just avoid that, deal with it, and don't deal with the recoil, because it's rough sledding out there with that shit, okay? Now, this side of the gun. On reload from empty, increased damage by +4, stacks up to 3 times. Okay. That's all right. It's nothing amazing there, okay? The other one, increased critical damage. Now, this could come into play, okay? This is something that you can definitely use and not overlook, right? Because the Incarnon stats, it is rough going out there, okay? So, like, if I choose this, it at least takes it up 0.8. So depending on your build, I don't know why it's, it's because I was pointing at the statistic. So depending on your build, this thing can be pretty solid, right? Like, that increased critical damage could, like one would think. But can we all take a moment to understand that without having that status the way that it is, being 24% of 3, .4 to 3.8 doesn't sound like a lot. I think going with a status chance, because it's status per projectile and it is an 8-pellet shotgun, and because of my Riven having multi-shot, is why I went with a status chance. Personally, if you don't have a Riven for this weapon, or you aren't focused insanely high into multi-shot, just use galvanized chamber and then build any other fucking way that you want and actually go for the critical damage. It's kind of your call. I don't really think it's going to be a game changer either way that we go with this.
If you die, I got dibs on your stuff.
So we're going to go back to the ship. We're going to discuss this build. Oh man, I will say, I find this thing, in comparison to expectation, this weapon is a huge letdown from what I was expecting. Now, does that mean it's bad? No. No, absolutely not. It's just not as good as everything else that's hit. And that's saying something, considering I thought that the Boltor up to this point was the weakest, and this actually tops that. Because at least the Boltor had more spread to the shotgun of the Incarnon side, to where this absolutely does not. So this is like true to form. Again, I'm sticking with hammer shot again because the stat is so fucking crap on the Incarnon side of this thing. It takes me from that 3 to 5.4 just with hammer shot in there. So get a little bit more status per projectile. I don't really think it fucking matters at this point, but it's worth a shot, and it gives me a lot more critical damage. So I've got critical chance and multi-shot. So, you know, I'm in a whopping 47.8 critical chance. Truth be told, put whatever the fuck you want in that spot. And again, like, do you need hammer shot? No. Does it absolutely help the shit out of your fucking critical damage? Yes. And given how low statted this fucking thing is anyway on the Incarnon side, which is really bonkers to me, like, everything else has been boosted stats on the Incarnon side. This is the first one I've seen actually take a step back on all of its statistics. Like, it's like they took a gun that has these fucking statistics, okay, with this build, it has these statistics, okay, so 143.5 status, or a crit, 8.4 multiplier with a 43.2 status, okay, so that really doesn't sound all that bad. And then you literally cut it by a third. except for the critical multiplier. Okay. Like, you cut it by an eighth on the status, and you cut it by a third on the fucking critical, but then the multiplier goes up. So it's like, hey, we're going to cut everything down, but if this should happen, the multiplier is going to give you some banging damage. I don't know, man. Maybe I just pumped this thing up in my head a little bit too much, but like a Rivenless build on this thing, like, truth be told, if you could get the double positive god roll of status chance and critical chance on this thing, hey man, fucking roll with it. I mean, I don't think I've really seen that ever, but I'm sure it's out there floating because the RNG of fucking Riven rolls is insane. So yeah, again, stabilizer is very much a thing on this. It's typical 100 munitions, but like the 100 munitions really more fits into the primary side of this gun. I will say that the primary side of this gun actually takes a positive step forward a little with the Incarnon adapter. The backside of this gun, yeah, see, you could say I was doing something on the Kuva Fortress. We're not going to talk about what it was. No. See, I go there.
Their rage is vehement.
It's like you want this thing to be something of wonder and amazement. You know, we got lots of bullets, we got lots of guns, just brrr.
Life support has been cut off.
Where are we at, guys? Where are we at? All right, we're going this way.
Hold
cool
on.
story, bro.
I'm sending auxiliary life support.
Hey, buddy. Ah, fuck him. Okay, so the Incarnon side, you can either go full burr, which that's really for a full burr. And yes, it does have a lot of rounds. It got 200 fucking rounds. So it does kill, but there's no radio attack as far as I know. And it's a very, very small cluster. Now, what I have been finding works is just trigger tap it. Because it's kind of unnecessary to just fucking go full ham on these motherfuckers. Bro, y'all and your grenades, man. We only get grenades with the agret. Yeah, you just... Oh, there's a lot of lag. What the fucking hell? Hey, like, here, look. If that doesn't categorize as a tight cluster for a shotgun, I mean, it's basically like, it's almost like shooting 8 small slugs. You know, like, so basically you're firing buckshot that actually has some range. Hi, fellas. I'm just gonna stand here. Like, I mean, this gun sounds like depression. Okay? Like, I'm not trying to be mean about this, but this thing sounds depressed. It's just like, bro, I wanted more. Why couldn't I be like the Burstin? Thank God I chose that this week. I was actually super hyped about this. Like, my clan guys can tell you I was fucking hyped about this motherfucker. It's alright. Like, obviously it's doing its fucking job, okay? But it's just the Incarnon side stepping back to something like, you know, something that's statistically from like 2016, except for the critical multiplier itself. I sit back like, what? Are you still around here somewhere? Yep, you are. Where are you? There you are. Die, 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 die. I mean, it's got a lot of bullets because it needs a lot of bullets to kill shit. I mean, this is sadness. This is like blues and yellows, man. Look at this. This thing's crying for more. DE did this gun dirty as shit, okay? When it comes to the Incarnon form, like, I don't want everything to be explosive AoEs and, you know, big plasma bombs and shit going off everywhere. I don't have that expectation, okay? The Torrid, perfect example. But it has, like, this weird chaining beam AoE of death that goes around that beam in the Incarnon form. and a slightly changed mechanic, which I'm fine with. Now, this being headshots, totally fine with it. Don't give a shit. So, I mean, this thing is just like, this thing makes me want to take Xanax. Handle my depressive issues a little bit more, or you know, or some Valium or something. Well, I already take Valium for my ears, but you know, makes me want to take antidepressants. Because here, look. Here, hold on. Look how much quicker they die. This is the side of the gun that isn't supposed to be strong. I'm body shotting these dudes and they're dying faster. But we're here showing Incarnon side, alright? This gun is like the epitome of Rhino Prime. Just did it dirty. Just didn't do enough. It's like new frame releases come out, and you're like, okay, it's kind of weak. It's alright. Prime version of the frame comes out, and you're like, oh, this is OP as shit, right? At least with some. Rhino Prime. They just kind of didn't give a shit about Rhino. They're just like, ah, Rhino will be alright. Don't worry about it. Here, hold on. Let's just build up the Incarnate again. Okay. So we're getting... Okay, you guys want to go away? Got a thing to do. Got a visitor here. Where you at, fuckstick? Bitch. No fencing allowed, bitch. I mean, so I did it in like 63 rounds. I should probably bump this life support just a little bit here. Yeah, this thing makes you want to go see a psychiatrist and get prescribed antidepressant medication, just because this is just not enough for this gun. I mean, just think, okay, if you take the ribbon off, it's statistically no better than what it was before, but it has the opportunity, if you take the critical damage side, to at least make the higher crit that the gun already has that you can build into it. Yeah, I just said crit. Thanks for that. It at least, you know, gives you the opportunity to build more crit, except there is a caveat to this. The fucking... Oh, god damn it. The augment mod does not function with this gun. Because when I saw the stats, I was like, well, you know, put the augment in instead of 100 munitions, will be fine. No. Don't. It doesn't work. So, the Soma Prime, I think we can call this weapon the, at least thus far, the biggest letdown firearm for the Incarnon Genesis. It's rough sledding out there, man. I mean, it works. Obviously, I just took down a fucking Acolyte, you know, just took down Steel Path level enemies, but it is a sad, sad day in the life of the Soma when you can't even use the critical based augment that everybody was basically limping this gun along with anyway, and then they statistically cut all of the stats except for damage multiplier for some stupid fucking reason, and then made the cluster of the shotgun so fucking small that you're basically just like shooting it down an 80-foot long barrel and point blanking people rather than actually having like the spread of a normal shotgun like the Boltor. So it's sad that I'm actually having to compare the Boltor as being better than the Soma at this point as far as its Incarnon side, because it is. So as of yet, at least for me, hands down the worst of the Incarnon Genesis adapters. I know that this is going to be posting in July, so if you have already chosen this, feel my pain with me. I feel your pain. I empathize. Wish I'd have chosen the Vasto, even though I don't even have the Vasto. Like, I would go refarm it now rather than have this nonsense, because this like makes me want to, you know, drop a little tear. So it works, man. I mean, like, you know, especially if you got a Riven, it's not, the Soma's never been like a terrible gun, but there's just so much better shit out there, and especially with these Incarnon Genesis adapters, that still definitely applies. There's better shit out there. So our next one is going to be the Burstin Prime Incarnon Genesis, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to go from depression to giddy. All right, so folks, catch you in the next video. Thanks very much.